Hello everybody, I'm Face and welcome back to another Loomian Legacy PvP video, or, a video relating to PvP. Anyway, today I am just going to be quickly going over my initial thoughts on like how everything works in the new PvP metagame, so like viability rankings. A tier list if you may, but disclaimer, this tier list is mainly subjective since we don't have any actual data to base this off of, except from damage calculators that would, give us a rough simulation of what would happen, but we don't really know what would happen until it actually happens. So once again, these are my initial thoughts as to how everything would do, and I just, as you can see, I think the tier list is up at this point, but I just have from S down to C minus, and then you have yeah. So I'm just gonna go from the top down to the bottom. Quickly go over each one and why I placed it there. So we're gonna start all the way up at the top with Zulong. Zulong still is really freaking good. It has more switch-ins this time, but it had like one or two switch-ins last time. But the main problem is its dual stab is really hard to actually safely come in on. So I placed him there. He's the fastest thing in the game, so it makes him even harder to revenge kill if you don't have priority. So that's what Luxor and Your Soul that have actual good priority, or at least against Zulong. So he's really hard to switch into, and he's harder to revenge kill than most. So yeah, he's just a big threat, and his dual typing is really good. So that's why he's S. Down to A+, I have Tatab. Tatab is similar to Zulong, is that it's really fast and hits really hard. But I put him a peg under because one, he's slower. He actually has things that outspeed him. And two, his dual typing is a lot easier to come in against now, which is now easier than ever thanks to Obsidian. Although, I guess that's not what I meant. You know what? Scratch that. Vesperatu still reigns king on walling him, but Obsidian can come in on his dual stab, and eventually a fully defensive one takes like 27% from a jungle jutsu. It's kind of insane. So yeah, he pairs really well with a lot of the really big offensive threats like Zulong and Ikazune. So the Tatab's A+. He's very, very solid Loomian. Now I have down here a Loomian. I have it if secret ability S, otherwise A. So like, yeah, that makes sense because its secret ability, if you don't know, is akin to Regenerator in Pokemon, where it would restore 1/3, but people have been reporting it only restores 1/4 when you switch out in this game. But still, it's a bulky water type, and its resistance to to Eruptodon, Obsidian, Luxor, take hit from Setimars if it's Regenerator, Power Napper. Could take a hit and be able to get out of there before it drops. Borok, Mentation, Volcaloa. It can 1v1 Florant if it has Sleet Shot at least. Actually, I don't know if he'd run Sleet Shot on a Power Napper, but whatever. It loses to Valkyrie, Duskit, Revenine. I didn't say loses. I mean it beats Valkyrie, Duskit, Revenine, probably Terrafly. I don't think it has anything that would break through Illuminami like that. Himber, Krakaloa, Your Soul. Cynomoth, barring, insane sleep hacks, but then again, you could just switch out and come in later. Swolder might be something that could actually take it out, but who cares about that? Anyway, it just walls a heck ton of stuff. It's really hard to kill if it's secret ability. Now, it's not secret ability, I'd still put it at A because, its typing is really good for most of the Loomians that were added this update. Like Rivenine's weak to it, Your Soul's weak to it, Obsidian's weak to it, Volcaloa, Krakaloa, Reptidon, Setimars, they're all weak to it. So it's just its typing is carrying it, even if it's not secret ability. If it's not its secret ability carrying it, it's its typing that's carrying it. So there we go. So next up I have Serenite. Now this is just the solid A tier. Serenite, not as good as before, simply because more fire types. And then the introduction of Ventation gives it an actual switch in. Ikazune also switches in on it because it's immune to one stab and quad resists the other, but Ventation has soft water for recovery and all that stuff, so it can actually wall Serenite. But Serenite still has that big old presence. There's not a whole lot that can switch into it. Obsidian doesn't switch into it because, you know, Serenite Steel is super effective. But it's not as big of a threat as before because of the new stuff we have, but it's still something to watch out for. It's still one of the best fire types, paired with tied up with Ikazune in my opinion. So it's still really relevant, just not S tier like before. Then I got Ikazune. Its speed is something, it leaves something to be desired, but honestly, if you're that much faster, it would be oof. But base 139 range attack with fire and electric stab is incredible wall breaking power. At +1 it kills everything except whatever resists it. A fully specially different, oh well, a Krakaloa. Besides a Krakaloa will eat a hit at +1, but everything else drops to +1, especially if it's smart, although I recommend Nimble. Why did I recommend Nimble? Oh yeah, it lets you outpace, Valkyrie without having to worry, because Valkyrie will chunk you for over half, and you won't be able to flat out OHKO. Actually, no, you might be able to OHKO it. Although without awakening, you just want to outspeed Valkyrie just to avoid these things. I might double check the. Okay, never mind. I won't check the calcs right now. These are just first impressions. I don't need to get down into the nitty gritty. But anyway, it's really hard to switch into. I don't see much on my screen right here that takes dual stab. Yeah, Zulong can switch in like once, but other than that, Obsidian will Obsidian just walls it. Yeah, I'm glad it actually has a wall with the update it was introduced in. Obsidian will just eat up any hit for days. It just can't kill Obsidian unless the Obsidian just spams weight and lets you get up to +6 or something. But yeah, dual stab with the ability to set up is just amazing. So that's why I have it all day. Avatros is up here in the A tier because look at all them fire types, all them new victims. Gasstroke too, although you're nuking your own HP there too. Wiki doesn't want to switch in, although it can actually take a hit or two. Avatros, after some chip on most things, just kind of destroys. So pairing it up with what resists it, what walls it. So what Obsidian would wall it, Setimars doesn't want to come in. It's forced to Raging Tackle, but pair it with I lied. But it's really hard to switch into. Even like Zulong up here, after like 20% damage, if it takes 20%, it's in range for a 2-hit KO. It can't switch in on Avatros. It's faster than Tatop, although you don't run any speed on Avatros, so it just dodges. It would dodge first or something. But most Ikazune's flat out 2-hit KO'd, can't switch in. Reptidon is 1-shot. Brett Luxor 2-shot. Setimars and Borak actually take a couple. Gasstroke might be able to take more than 2 if you make it max defense. Ventation walls it. Who cares? Ventation just like, ooh, Avatros, gimme. Volcaloa is 1-shot. Florant doesn't want to take it. Vesperati can take it on. Dragon might be able to take 2 just because it's naturally high bulk, physical bulk, at least 90 HP, 90 defense. That's pretty good. Chartiki's gone, but yeah, I'd go over. But if I went over every single matchup with every single Loomian, this video would be like, oh, what, 30 minutes, and I'm already at 10 minutes, so I gotta speed up. Let's go. A- rank, it's basically, you know, these guys are still really good, but they have some issues or are outclassed in some way. Eruptodon, without its hidden ability, like you could use it as a fire switch in, but that was before Ikazuna came out. You can use Ikazuna as a fire switch in and then proceed to nuke. But Eruptodon still has, even after its range attack nerf, it still has Pyro, and it still nukes pretty hard. It hits really freaking hard. Now with access to Mud Spatter, gives it even better matchups against Ikazune and Searknight, so that's cool. And other fire types, of course. But yeah, it's overall really good. Overall pretty darn good, especially with the speed buff now outspeeding Ikazune, allowing for the Mud Spatter to actually come off before Ikazune hits. But up next we have Obsidragon. It walls anything that doesn't resist, or that isn't super effective, pretty much. It won't go down in 2 hits, maybe not even 3 hits if it doesn't, if it's not weak to you. But it's held back by the fact that it's weak to Zulong, weak to Luminami, and yeah, those 2 specifically. But Luxor and Valkyrie both destroy as well, as well as Searknight. But Searknight has to watch out for Mud Spatter, which is an actual, I believe, is an actual viable thing on the Obsidragon. But anyway, Umbrat still hits really freaking hard, but it's got more switch-ins now, and especially with Obsidragon, and then with all the fire types, it's really hard to come in nowadays. But when it does get in, it will chunk your team pretty hard. Same thing with Luxor. Luxor's up here now simply because Obsidragon and Obsidragon's up here, and Obsidragon is going to be very popular. Everybody loves the dragon. Like I said in my last video, it's a dragon, it must be good. But except, now that I look at it, it's actually kind of good. But Luxor rose up despite the increasing plant types to wall it. Obsidragon is just that big. But even without it, it still has a solid place because Dragoon's buff will make it see more use, so then, another target for Luxor to just hit and kill. But anyway, moving on. Seti Mars, I have an A-. I actually don't really know where I want to put him. I was thinking A-, B+, but I wanted to visually show that I believe Seti Mars is better than Borak right now. Borak has more initial power with a higher base stat, and being able to get a +1 for almost completely free, since only 3 things right now are able to lower its attack besides itself. Dotad, Vesperatu, but who would want to run a fully offensive Vesperatu? And Your Soul, those are the only 3 that can drop his attack besides himself. But Seti Mars has Provoke, although it's not seeming to be that useful in my head because it's weak to all the walls, Gastroid, Wiki, although Wiki doesn't really run much offense. Ventation, although a neat thing would be to provoke Obsidragon before it gets set up or anything, so that you could, since Obsidragon's damage isn't that great unless you manage to set up with it while walling stuff. But so Provoke still has its usage, but Sharpen and Hasty. Hasty is basically Hustle for Pokemon, giving you 1.5 times attack modifier, or multiplier for those who aren't familiar. Then, Sharpen, increasing the accuracy back up that the Hustle would drop. Hustle drops by 20%. Sharpen raises by 33%. 80% times 133% is like 167%. 106.7%. There we go. So yeah, after that Sharpen though, Seti Mars is now hitting much harder than Borak. It has a better stab, more damage, no recoil. but then Raging Tackle does recoil, but it does more damage than Body Slam. And of course, Earth and typeless coverage is really good, only being resisted by typing that's not even in the game yet. But I'm feeling uneasy putting him up there because he's really slow. So, but he is bulkier than Borak on both, in every way, more HP, more defense, more range defense, but still with its low speed, it almost always has to take a hit before it can deal a hit. And in that sense, Borak is better in some ways because it can actually take out Seer Knight. But you know, it can take on Seer Knight better because it's faster. But I still have Seti Mars up there because I still believe it's better than Borak. I just don't know how much. But now down to B+, we got Borak. I pretty much already explained it. It hits really hard initially and has the Earth typeless coverage. It has priority, so that's always fun. But you already know about Borak. Gas Stroke's up here. It's a really good range wall. 115 HP, 115 range defense, and you know, resists electric, so it can wall Zulong. That's fun. But with all the introductions, with all the fire types, it just, you know, it seems a little harder to work. But the spirit types in the lower parts, like Duskit and Revenine, although I don't know how much Blaze Chomp from Revenine does to it, with its, you know, 35 defense. Oof. But, you know, it has access to poison, it has access to photosynthesis, so it can heal itself reliably. It does have Briar Block. We'll have to see if Briar Block or Dodge is better. You know, Dodge costing less energy. But although Briar Block does stop, you know, Ghostly Howl, so I guess while Dodge doesn't. Although I don't know if it actually does, because Ghostly Howl just bypasses defensive fortifications. But anyway, it's still really solid. Can do work in this meta. You know, same thing with Ventation, except on the opposite end, it's a physical beast with 90 HP and 142 melee defense, but you know, it has like 53 range defense. So, and despite being weak to the top two, you know, Zulong, Tata, of course, Luminami would be higher if it's secret ability, although it would still lose to Luminami probably. There are a bunch of fire types in the meta, and it's a water type, so it's already, you know, it's already easier to work with. But yeah, physical hits it pretty much just denies unless it's weak to it. Although what physical hits are super effective? Thunder Crash from Ikazune, yeah. Okay, anyway. Volcala, good typing, fire ancient, good offensive stats, 105 attack, 102 speed. If nothing else, it pretty much forces Tautups to run nimble, which means you're taking overall less damage from Jungle Jutsu. And then its offensive typing is pretty darn good. I'm not actually sure how much it does to Obsidian at the moment, but paired with fire, you know, hitting the plant types, hitting the dark types, you know, best bra too. It's just a good offensive coverage in general. Unfortunate that Coconut Bomb is ranged and not melee, or else, you know, it would be even better being able to hit Seti Mars and Borak for super effective. Anyway, down to B tier we have Florant. Florant still does pretty good as a general wall. Good with, like, you know, more offensive teams. Yeah, weird because Florant is passive as anything, but its ability to spread sap plane around and let things like Seti Mars recover HP is pretty good. But being weak to, again, all the fire types and Avitross is just unfortunate, and Tatop actually. But yeah, it could still do work. It's just much harder than before. Vesperatu pretty much didn't change from where I put it in the first theater meta, simply because it still does well. It still walls on Brat pretty darn well. Walls Avitross, Walls Tautub, Seti Mars. It's not good for Vesperatu actually. Like, you could drain its HP and you could potentially knock off its item with Dive Bomb, but like, it could set up and taunt you, so it'll break through you eventually. But Borak, it can beat. It'll beat Gas Stroke, maybe. You don't want to eat the poison. You don't want poison, but if with just a little bit of attack investment, a fully defensive Gas Stroke will still drop in 2 hits from Bamboozle, so it does have ways to beat Gas Stroke, at least on the Switch, before getting poisoned. Vocaloa raises issues. I'm just kind of looking at the tier list and going down. Again, I don't need to go into all the matchups, but down here, Revenine and Duskid are both walled by, and Your Soul, just covering the new stuff. They're all walled by Vesperatu, because while Revenine's a fire type, it doesn't get any ranged fire moves. Its best fire move is Blaze Chomp, and unless you're max attack with Fire Essence, you're not doing much damage to Vesperatu, and even then it doesn't even do half, but it does enough to threaten it. So if you want to meme around with max attack Revenine, there you go. But Ragoon is an interesting thing to see up here. With its stats buffed, you know, having more HP to take maybe 1 hit extra than before, and then 90 speed now, forcing Luxors into Nimble, but then also outspeeding, or also having enough speed to potentially run Brawny to outspeed some of these things. I believe, don't want to be caught being wrong here, but I believe Brawny outspeeds Ikuzune's Nimble, so there you go. With Ability Thief being buffed to activate on contact, it could do some gimmicks. It can 1v1 Ikuzune. Just like if they're both out at the same time, Ragoon wins because it takes Raging Fire, and even if they use an electric attack, it's 2-shotting you, but you're also 2-shotting them. So it can't use its fire move. A lot of these fire types have, you know, fire type immunity abilities. Ikuzune, Eruptodon, Krakaloa. I think that's actually it, but you know, you get my point. So yeah, it could do some wacky things, like it picks off a Luxor with a quick pounce, getting Illuminate, and then the Zulon comes in, you can quick pounce with the light type. Well, a light type quick pounce for super effective. That's cool. But yeah, Ragoon is more of a gimmick, but it's a viable gimmick now, rather than just being Ragoon. But then we have Chartiki, good stab combo, but unfortunately resisted by fire, which is there's a bit of fire in the metagame, but it could break the Ventation and Gastro core people might use. So and then Big Daddy Obsidian comes in and Chartiki becomes sad. So it has its work cut out for it, but it could still do stuff. Then down to Valkyrie in the B-. I don't really have a lot to justify this, but being weak to Ikuzune is not fun. But it is a light type, so it still has merit in beating Obsidian at the moment. It could still do that 60 HP, 64 range defense, heavy shield thing to, you know, Oko Zulong. But although if you do manage to get its hidden ability, which is what, Applied Frustration, and there's like a Your Soul with Terrifying or something, or Seer Knight with Terrifying, that's a free +2. That's fun. I think it's fine. It's nothing amazing. It has a hard time coming in against the upper threats. Zulong will, you know, almost one-shot it. Tautop can 2-shot it. Seer Knight will 2-shot it. Ikuzune might even one-shot it. No, actually, no, it wouldn't one-shot it. It could come in on AV Trust, but Eruptodon, Umbrat, Seti Mars, Borak, maybe Volcalo, not sure, but Vesperatu and Ragoon are both really hard to come in. It just struggles to get in, but it can do some big damage. And then we got Dusket here. Dusket seems better than before, just because there's, you know, while there's still a lot of things that resist it, Big Boy Obsidian being one of them. There are more targets that don't resist it, so it could actually deal out some decent damage with Spectral Burst. You know, maybe if the opposing Obsidian drops, you can start setting up Peace of Minds reliably, but then Zulong still resists you and just obliterates you. But you could still do the Return to Sender gimmick if you feel like it. Revenine's in the same boat here. I just put Dusket slightly higher because it could set up its ranged attack to do more damage. Revenine can't, but it does have a thing where, you know, its signature move Ghostly Howl can bypass dodge, so, or, you know, not can, it does. So there you go. Now I'm looking at the time of my recording, and I memed about, you know, laughing like, oh boy, a 30-minute video, but I guess we got a 30-minute video upon us, boys. Anyway, Revenine's dual stab, it would be good if it had fire stab to go along with it, but it doesn't, so it's an okay spirit attacker, but, you know, unlike Dusket, it can't set up, but it does have the dodge bypass, like I said. Terrafly, Poison Barbs are always going to forever carry it until something better gets Poison Barbs, and then it won't be carried anymore. But being a bug type is a lot harder right now, since, like, you know, something like Gastroc would bait it in for Parasitize, but its ability, it is exactly, it's a clone of Liquid Ooze from Pokemon. If it were to use Parasitize and one-shot a Gastroc, it would lose most of its health because, ouch. So yeah, it doesn't really do too much outside of Poison Barbs, but Poison Barbs are still really good. I have Wiki down here. I originally had it a little higher, but because somebody reported to me that its ability Chaperone would prevent it from being statused, but that's not the case. I tested it; it gets statused both in double and single battles, so it's not as cool as before as I initially thought. So it's down there. It could still take hits surprisingly well if you invest fully into both defenses with 100 HP. It'll eat a hit, but it's, you know, passivity, and, you know, yeah, its passivity is what really holds it back. Yeah, use Provoke with Setimars, and it doesn't work because it has no moves. It has, like, what, Life Drain, but with a 49 range attack, you're not doing much with that. Now down to the C tier, but, you know, C plus we got Himber. Oh, how the mighty have fallen, even though it wasn't all that mighty, but, you know, other people thought it was mighty. Icicle Trap is still cool if you can manage to get rid of all of the fire types. Although most teams will probably only have one, but, you know. There are a lot more fire types that threaten it. There are plant types that can come in on the Yeti's Wrath and hurt you a lot. Obsidian walls you, it sees you as setup fodder. You can't kill it. While Ikazune, Seer Knight, and all them can't switch in on you, they will still take you down from either half or higher, so it's just harder to work with. A lot harder, and I almost see it as not worth it. But if you really do need a Zulong switch in that's not Gastroc or something, Himber's there. That's why it's here. It walls Zulong, it still walls it well. That's why I have it in plus. Down in C we have Krakaloa and Ursul. I don't have them in C minus. C minus is like they're carried by this one thing, and this one thing is the only thing that makes it viable, or like viable. But here in C tier, they're not a good pick, but they have something they could work with. Like Krakaloa is a bulky fire type that can 1v1 pretty much all the other fire types, and then along with a few other things. So originally it wasn't bulky at all, it just had 102 HP and then like paper thin defenses, but now it has actual bulk, and I hope it's movable in the future. It gets something to take advantage of it, but for now it's C tier, but it still can wall fire types along with beating them 1v1. It does have the bulk to do that now. Then over here we got Ursul, pretty much the opposite of Krakaloa. It hits really hard. It's hard to switch into unless you're like Ventation or something, or Obsidian, but it's really hard to even get it in the battle because it's got 72 HP and 60s in its defenses, and its defensive typing doesn't really help it out either. You can come in on a top jungle jutsu. That's it. That's pretty much it. It's hard to come in against anything else because your paper thin defenses, they'll chunk you for way over half, and then you might be able to get one hit off or something if you're faster than them. At least you have a decent speed with 75, so. But yeah, it hits really hard, but it's really hard to get into the battle. Then down to C-, these are things that are carried by one specific thing, and Dynamoth, it's Snore Spores. That's something to sleep. Right, you know, disrupt the opposing team. And then you have Swolder that has poison. Its thing is that it can come in on Wiki or Gasstroke poisons with its hidden ability, get a poison boost, and I don't know, it hits Ventation pretty darn hard. Give it a Toxic Essence or something, because then its poison moves are buffed to damage. But then if they don't have Ventation and they have Obsidian, it's just like oof. But its niche is being immune to Gasstroke and Wiki poisons and threatening him out with a super effective boost or poison boosted move. So there you go. And then we have poor old Shachi. It doesn't miss, but it doesn't do no damage. It's the Ragoon of this one. It's just there. It's just there to exist. It doesn't do anything. You don't ever have to really worry about it. I mean, if somebody does bring it, it doesn't have very many resistances, but it doesn't hit very hard, and it can't take a hit because yeah. However, there is hope in the future for it. Lando said its full potential is yet to be realized, so we can always hope on that. So anyway, those are my initial thoughts on the viability rankings of everything. Obviously, these thoughts will change as, you know, I actually do battles. Thank you for that, Doggo. Did you hear her lovely input? But yeah, as time goes on, I will adjust this and put it on like Twitter and YouTube and all that. Maybe like the community post, I'll just occasionally post an updated tier list. But yeah, those were my thoughts. I spoke for way too long. I wish I was more concise with my points. Maybe I should start like scripting these videos so that like I once maybe stop stuttering, and two, can just go from point to point instead of taking 5 seconds to go, what am I doing here again? But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed me rambling for what, half an hour about a bunch of virtual pets trying to duke it out with each other. But anyway, I'll see y'all in another video.